Hey guys, Justin here. Welcome to another episode of Watch Me Choke a Race. I mean qualifying and race guides. It's a pretty interesting race, so stick through that if you want to see some stuff about long run and pit strategy. And then also make sure to like the video because that will help me out the most out of anything that you guys can do. And subscribe if you want to see more content. Alright, let's get right to the lap.
$30.247.
Alright, let's take a look at that. So we'll start with the building momentum here. You don't really need to do anything special because the car kind of gets too loose to build up momentum that early. So I really just kind of keep it along the outside wall without really putting much throttle input until after this New Hampshire sign right here. So you go past that a little bit, and then you turn down the hill and you get more on the throttle, and then once you can get your wheel pointed more straight, you go full throttle. And then I'm right here, I'm in third gear still, so we're gonna need to do that upshift. And I highly recommend, if you guys are still using auto blip, I would get off of auto blip for this track and try to learn this type of shifting, because you can shift without the clutch. This is a big thing that we can take from this, is that you can see here, look at my throttle here as I change into fourth gear. So I'm going down and then I get out of the throttle a little over half and then right back in it. So out of the throttle, click, and then right back on the throttle, and that will get you into fourth. No clutch needed, no anything, and it's a lot faster. Alright, so now we're going into one. My braking point here for you guys is going to be somewhere between the 2 and the 3. I kind of just do it somewhere in the middle. So we're going to get on the brakes here, about half, but then bring it back to a drag. And then we're aiming for the first seam right here. So we want to get our lefts right on it without touching it, because if there's a banking change here, and if we go over that banking change, it's going to change the angle of our car, and it's most likely going to shoot us up the track. So we hug the seam here, and then we throw it into third. And again, look at, there's no clutch being used here. I put about a third throttle into it, and then put into third, and then right back off. No clutch needed. Alright, so now that we have it into third, I'm waiting for a moment for the car to slightly diamond. I don't want to be sliding up the track, but you can see I'm going about half a lane up, and then my car finally turns down the hill. So when my car finally turns down the hill, I want to be cutting the apron to get to the exit. That's a bad line here, but we'll see that we're starting at the seam, but we want to cut into the apron and make a straight exit in third gear. So you see I almost get all the way down to the apron and just straight back on it, just full throttle the whole way. Gets a little loose. Yeah, you see I had to correct there, but that's what it's going to take. So you really can just try to drive it straight off, and then you have to get as close to 8,000 as possible. If you're short shifting at like 7,500, you're losing multiple hundredths. So we really want to make sure that those RPMs get really close to 8,000 before we shift. We got right there, we get into fourth, and we might have shifted even a little early then, and maybe losing a little momentum here, but we're driving good still. It's a good corner. So now getting into 3, kind of the same deal. I go a little bit closer to the 2 than the 3. So like maybe reaching Like I guess it's around right here now. But a little bit closer to the 2 than the 3. And again, we're aiming at that same first seam. This first seam, treat it like it's the apron when you're entering. So we're getting all the way down to the first seam. And now here, I'm not getting as much of a cut. So you notice my timing of shifting down. Do not shift down too early. If you shift down too early, you're going to get yourself too loose. You're going to lose traction in the rears, and it's just not going to be fast, and you're probably going to burn your rears off, along with your fronts if you're four-wheel sliding. So I get all the way down into the corner, and the moment when I say, okay, I feel like I've settled in the corner, at that instant, I throw it into third. And we're just rolling along that first seam now, and again, a mini diamond. I'm barely going up this lane, but it's not wrapping that seam because I need room to turn down into, because I got that car weight shifted turning back down the hill in third gear. So I need somewhere to go with it. So now I'm driving back towards that seam again, and we're just following the seam off now. After we've made that little diamond, we just follow the seam off towards the wall. And you see, I'm able to be full throttle with essentially a straight wheel because of this line that we're running. And we're just carrying a ton of speed off the corner. So we'll look at that one more time in full. So we're entering the corner. We get down to the seam. We throw it into third. That slides us up about a quarter of a lane, a third of a lane. We weight shift the car back down and get back mostly on the throttle. We get our wheels straight, full throttle. So don't go full throttle until you can get that wheel completely straight. All right, so that's our Q run. Let's see if we got pole and go to the race. All right, so we finished the race here and we lost on pit strategy. And so it'll be a good lesson for you guys once again here. So we qualified on pole and it was a pretty straightforward race. We had a couple early cautions, but then after that it was green the whole way. So I want to show you a bit of the line that I'm running here because it's a very weird line, but it saves tires for me on long run, and I've seen it save tires for a couple other people too. So going into one, I aim initially for the first seam just like hot lap, but I let it roll and then I cut all the way down into the apron and drive off as straight as possible. So in order to achieve this, you need to slow down the car a little more than you think you would need to, and you don't turn the wheel particularly anymore. You just kind of wait for the car to start turning back down the hill on its own. And then once you do that, you can use your right rear on the higher banking versus the lefts on the lower banking in order to kind of get your car loose and straight onto the apron. So you see I cut the apron, and you can cut it even more if you get a good setup. There are some guys out there who are doing this a lot better than I am, but even on the level that I'm executing it, it's still good enough to be pretty fast. And I was doing this the whole run here, and I was getting pretty consistent lap times. We were keeping about half a second to the guy behind us. He could never make any moves on us. It was just, the dirty air was too tough. He might have been a little faster, but I think he was a little faster in general. So using this method kind of helped me keep up with him. 3 and 4, apparently you can do the same. I had a harder time executing it, just getting the car to start rotating. So I kind of just kept it on this first seam, usually. Sometimes I would dip a little bit below, maybe towards the yellow line, but I wasn't able to get it all the way to the apron in 3 and 4. So for 1 and 2, yet again, throw it into third, just like the hot lap, drive it down. Sometimes you miss the apron slightly. It's important not to force it down there. It gets loose, which is important. It's better to be loose than to be tight because you're really wanting to preserve your right front. So you just wait on it, and guide it down to the apron, and just shortcut it and get a straight drive off, and you'll get loose on exit instead of tight. I don't know if this is the best way to execute this strategy. I know some people are doing a little faster, but I think for most of your guys' purposes, this will be a pretty good starting point in trying to find this wacky line. All right, so we'll get to the meat of it. So caution came out on lap 34. At this point, I had like maybe a 7/10 of a second lead here, so it was just about wrapped up. 8 to go, 7/10 of a second lead. I was probably better on tires a little bit, ready to win the race, and then a caution came out. And the funny thing is, I knew that second place was going to take 2 because he's not on my bumper. Usually, if we're trying to execute a pit stop that'll get us the lead, you want to be right on my bumper through there. And you see, he did not pull up to my bumper when he easily could have going into here. So that was a tip off to me that he's taking 2 tires. And you know what I said? I said, let him take 2 tires. I'm going to beat him on 4. And it turns out that when a guy may be faster than you and you only have track position on him, the best thing is probably to match his strategy. So really, once I recognized this, I should have clicked my 2 lefts off here. But turns out he got 2 of his buddies along with him to take 2 tires only, and I came out 4th. Could have been worse. Could have came out 5th, and that would have been really bad. But the other unfortunate thing about having 2 buddies in 2nd and 3rd is that they can do Discord countdowns for the restart. And so you can see here, they all just go at the same time. That's not a reaction, that's some buddies racing. But in theory, I should still be pretty good here. I try to drive under them. I was able to get 1 going into 3 here. Just able to drive a lot deeper than they are. And then the issue was I was kind of stuck with the other guy squeezing me, kind of blocking me for his buddy to win. And then a caution came out right there, so I didn't even get to start front row 2nd time. But that probably wouldn't have been great either because they still would have counted down in 3rd and 4th. It's kind of a us against the world type situation at this point. So we go to a green-white checker, and again, they just... I slept a little on that restart, definitely. If I got a better restart, I would have been more in it. So I was able to get 2nd pretty easily again in 1 and 2. But we're just too strung out at this point. The 2 tires are working decently. He put down a really good lap here. He put down a... let's see, he ended with a 98 and a 6. So his last lap of the race on 2 tires that were 40, 50 laps old was a 30.65. Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to get to that with 1 heat cycle on the tires. So it was just good strategy. Could have matched the strategy and probably came out victorious, and it could have avoided a dumb caution, but that's the takeaways. If it's a late race situation, look into 2 tires. Might get you some track position. Look into trying that weird apron cut line. And other than that, it's pretty similar to the qualifying. And just take care of your tires. Don't go spinning them. Don't go adding too much load onto the right front for no reason. Just wait a little bit more in middle than you think you would need to. So, all right. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.